What's the truth, more pressingly? Buck Sexton would know. He's a former CIA analyst, currently with the Hill newspaper. He was just at our southern border, and he joins us tonight. But Don Lemon doesn't buy this at all. Is it true, though, despite his skepticism, that dangerous people could be coming across?
When I was right at the Tijuana, Tijuana-San Diego border, I saw a room full of Bangladeshis who had just been taken into custody in the last 24 hours. So I would want to explain to them that apparently there are no Muslims sleeping.
Did you feel guilty when you saw that?
No.
You feel like I'm a bad person for seeing this. Maybe I should take Don Lemon's advice and forget I ever saw it.
Well, it's fascinating because it shows you just how widespread, how far-reaching the problem really is now of exploiting loopholes in the system. By the way, they all showed up, Tucker, claiming asylum. So they show up at our southern border, they turn themselves in at the border, but they know that they're now entering this process where they'll say they have a credible fear. Bangladeshis have a credible fear. Indians have a credible fear. Pakistanis, among many other people, by the way. They have Chinese nationals who are showing up doing this same thing, spending tens of thousands of dollars because they know that once they get processed and let free, they'll be in the interior of the United States, and they're going to have to wait 2 to 5 years probably for the backlog of cases. And no judge at that point is going to let them go. And there are other scams and schemes that if you go to the border, you see that just aren't being reported on.
So it sounds like if you just saw this standing there in San Ysidro in the Mexican border, it's not hidden information. So if you were a producer for like a 10 p.m. cable show on CNN, you could have got that information yourself as well, right?
Yeah, it's more fun to just call Trump and everybody who wants border security a racist. One other
just really quick, is Islam a race?
No, it's not. But the left likes to conflate the two. They think of Islam as a non-white religious tradition. That's how they usually, even though there are people who are Muslim faith who are as white as
Lawrence of Arabia never existed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of ways we can go on this. But also note that when you're at the border, there's no question, and I saw the border fence in action, working, and when you speak to Border Patrol, including people who like Trump and people who don't like Trump on Border Patrol, they'll tell you the numbers speak for themselves. You're talking about a night, and by the way, I took this photo the day we were there, the first day. This was 4 actually Mexican illegals crossing the fence. It was a double-layer fence. We caught them. I didn't catch them. I was just observing as a journalist, but Border Patrol caught them as they finally making landfall here on the U.S. side. But people were saying, well, see, this shows you that the fence doesn't work. And I said, no, they were caught within 30 seconds of crossing because of the sensors and the barriers and the fence. But it just goes to show you how widespread the problem is still at the border. When you can be there for a few hours, you are very likely to see illegal crossings happen. By the way, they had previous criminal records, which is the only reason that they didn't just turn themselves in and say, I want asylum. We had other people show up with a kid that, by the way, they may have either rented or recycled, which is now a tactic they use as well, where they pass children to people who don't actually, they're not family members, but people will rent their children into this process to make money and say, this is my child, because then they know they get special treatment when they claim asylum. So there's a lot of ways that people are gaming the system. But if you have a previous criminal record, the asylum thing's not going to work. So that's why they try to sneak over illegally.
So if Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, promises you free health care, why wouldn't you do that?
Well,
I wouldn't do that.
Until the incentives change. And I would also note the state of California is openly hostile to border enforcement. And the state of California, and you speak to Border Patrol about this, and and these are guys in California, you'd think they're doing a job that people would be supportive of. California made it so that you couldn't have any California contractors involved in the upgrades of the very effective border fence, by the way. You had to get a Texas contractor, which costs just more money because they had to relocate, because California doesn't want anyone to have a hand in securing the border. It's just nuts, and people should know what the loopholes and the exploitations are.
Buck Sexton, so interesting. Thank you for that. It was great.
Good to see you, Tuck.